Sir, we are live.
Dear esteemed members, respected speaker CA Sanjay Jhanwar, Senior Advocate, Kavita Parmesh, Secretary of our branch, a very warm welcome to each one of you to this insightful webinar organized by the Bangalore branch of Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. I am delighted to see such an enthusiastic gathering for today's session on growing opportunities of multidisciplinary professional services by chartered accountants. As we stand at the crossroads of expanding the professional horizons, the importance of understanding and exploring new opportunities cannot be overstated. Chartered accountants, traditionally seen as the custodian of financial integrity, are now increasingly being recognized for their versatile skills in providing a wide array of multidisciplinary professional services. Today's webinar is a testament to our commitment to equip our members with the knowledge and insights that required to thrive this dynamic and ever evolving environment. We are privileged to have us CA Sanjay Jhanwar, a highly esteemed member and senior advocate who will be willing to share his valuable insights on the emerging opportunities for chartered accountants in various domains. His extensive experience, expertise will provide us a deeper understanding of how we as a chartered accountants can leverage our core competencies to expand into the new professional avenues. I encourage all participants to actively engage during the webinar and make the most of this unique opportunity to learn and grow. Let us all be inspired to think beyond our traditional roles and embrace the exciting opportunities that lies ahead. Once again, I welcome you all to this webinar and look forward for a fruitful and engaging session. Thank you, and thank you, sir. Thank you for gracing this occasion as well. I would like to hand over to our secretary to give a brief introduction about the speaker. Thank you.
Thanks, Chairman. Yes, good evening, members. It's an honor to have CA Sanjay Jhanwar with us. A quick introduction of him. He's a chartered accountant and a lawyer, and has over more than 33 years of experience. And now he's designated as the High Court senior advocate from the Rajasthan High Court. It's a pleasure that he is here among us, and he has been a rank holder throughout in his career and has achieved greater heights. His academic records speaks for what he is and what he has done. He has Masters of Law from globally renowned Columbia University in New York, and his specialization in the direct taxes, international taxes, commercial before various tax tribunal, high courts, and supreme courts. He was a partner, and he was practicing. He has founded a law firm called Chir Amrit in 2002, where he led the legal professional specializing in tax and commercial laws. Prior to this, he was a partner at Kalani and Co., a prominent chartered accountant firms. He has successfully litigated on domestic matters, domestic and international taxation matters, like the way I mentioned. He has been a member of various national forums and committees, and for example, National Panel for Training of the Commissioners in areas of central excise, customs, narcotics, and service tax. And the accountants. He has also been the committee member of fiscal committee of Institute of Chartered Accountants, and subjects which are of prominence to the profession. He has remained as chief editor of TaxWord, and he has also authored a book called Browser of Block Assessment. He is a founder trustee of Rajasthan Chartered Accountants Association Foundation, Jaipur, and which is working in the field of spreading education among the students and professionals. He's apart from that, he is also a widely traveled person, and he is lot of associated with lot of charities and a lot of pro bono assignments. It's a wonderful opportunity to have you, sir. Thank you. That different profession, both legally as well as delivering our members is a pleasure, and thank you for being here, sir. I will now hand over the proceedings to you, sir, for your talk. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Pramod, and thank you, Kavita, for the introduction. It's my privilege to come again to the members of Bangalore branch. I had earlier come there, I think at two different occasions, some years ago, many years ago, and then 2 years ago for the second time, and this is the third time that I'm talking to the Bangalore members. Friends, this topic, multidisciplinary professional opportunities, is the topic which is of utmost relevance to all the chartered accountants, particularly in the era when all the newspapers are talking about the role of chartered accountants after AI comes. You might have seen yesterday's newspaper, many of you. And before that also, when everyone is talking what will happen after artificial intelligence comes in vogue in the country, and whether we'll have the similar growth rate in our profession and in the country, or the countries which have adopted or which would be adopting or which are in the way of adopting the AI at a faster pace, they will take over the stage, their growth would come at the faster rate. So I think this topic is very, very relevant today when we are at the verge of entering a decade where artificial intelligence would play a very, very important role. Friends, before I start sharing my presentation, I would like to just share that in my firm, out of 64 professionals, there are about 27 or 28 chartered accountants. Others are lawyers. Some are company secretaries. But what I find is the chartered accountants are most suited people for multidisciplinary work, or I should say interdisciplinary work. What is that? What it covers? In the firm which I founded, now apart from litigation and tax and corporate division, the multidisciplinary division is growing at the fastest pace. So I would like to share something about that, what kind of work chartered accountants have been doing in that multidisciplinary domain, and what you need to know, and how a chartered accountant could be better than all other professionals when it comes to interdisciplinary, and why next 10 years would be dominated by the growth of interdisciplinary work in CA profession. So that will be the topic of the day. And I have only few slides, very few slides. Discussions would be more. Slides would be about 15, but I'll have more discussions. And before I start my topic, I would like to stop on my first two slides and just switch to the presentation and share my screen. Are you able to see the screen? I think the screen is visible.
Yes, the screen is visible.
Yeah. So in this topic, before I start, as I mentioned to you about the topic, we must know where we are heading, where our country is heading. And we all know that where we are in terms of our GDP right now at number 5, the table on the right. And by 2030, our country is estimated to be, or projected to be, or predicted to be the third largest economy with 7.3 trillion GDP. You must all know that these are not just the numbers, there is a vision document published by Government of India, and the Government of India is explaining in its vision document as to how it is likely to achieve this GDP by 2030, and by 2047, how it would become a 30 trillion USD economy. We must be conscious that by becoming 30 trillion, we are not going to top the list in the global countries list, because by that time, United States and China, they'll be much ahead. Today, they are at, United States is at 27.9. So they would have gone much beyond. Of course, the gap would reduce, but they'll go much beyond. What we must know is, apart from focusing on GDP numbers, what government is focusing these days is the Human Development Index, or which is called HDI. And for HDI, it's not sufficient to have a huge GDP. That's not sufficient. In addition to that, what you must have is your per capita income should be as per, because we want to become developed nation. Even if we increase our GDP to 30 trillion, still we may not become developed nation, as China is not a developed nation even now because of the HDI lower score. So we must know, apart from GDP, the focus is going to be on per capita gross national income, where unless we achieve $17,000 for every person, average per capita income, which is right now just 6,000. So unless it is tripled, we cannot become a developed nation despite achieving this $30 trillion. So that is first factor. And second is education. And third is health. So in HDI index, all three have equal weightage. So only by increasing the income, nothing would happen unless our this mortality rate improves, our rate of our health services improve, our average age increases, and unless the national literacy rate increases, still after doing all this exercise on GDP, we cannot become developed nation. So therefore, the government in its vision documents has focused on all the three: education, health, and per capita gross national income. And you can all see on the chart, which is there on the screen, that we have a target per capita of 2030 also, and 2040 also, and 2047. We have estimated our exports, we have estimated our imports, we have estimated the investment. So it's not that imports are going down. Rather, imports are going to be more than exports. And still we are saying we will be achieving this 30 trillion target. So that means what is happening within the country becomes more relevant for all of us. And with that background, friends, I'm just switching the focus. And the focus now on the screen is that what is the contribution of family businesses to GDP? Most of the chartered accountants, all of us who are not part of Big Four, and even some chartered accountants who are part of Big Four, are day in and day out dealing with family businesses, whether it is relating to audit, or it is relating to tax, or it is relating to newer non-traditional functions where chartered accountants are involved, like transaction advisory or maybe ESG or whatever. So what we must know that in India, the focus on family businesses, or the contribution by family business to the GDP, is to the extent of 79%. It's not that it's not there in US. In US also it is 54%. But in India, family business is considered to be the major contributor of GDP. And please mind, as per one of the Harvard studies, family business is considered to be the most successful business model. And most of us, we find ourselves that we are involved in family businesses. Why I gave this background? I have given this background for a purpose, and that purpose is reflected in the next slide. And the slide is, this slide shows that on the left-hand side, a data suggests that in India, about 10% businesses are the top tier businesses. About 20% businesses are kind of proprietorship businesses. But about 70% businesses are those called mid-sized businesses. I'm not talking just about MSMEs. It would include all of them which are not in first top 100 companies of the country. So all of them are here. So top 100 are not here, but others are here. So this is all mid-sized businesses as per global parameters. And please mind, if we see the professional firms or the professionals on the other side, the service providers who are the chartered accountants who are like individuals or proprietors, they are 45%. So normally they provide service to the small, normally is not, I'm not saying that an individual CA cannot provide service to a large listed company, but what I'm saying is normally if there is one single person, then he is providing services to the small businesses. And normally the top 20% professionals are in large professional firms. So normally they provide services to very large firms. Normally, again, with a rider that is a general. So, but at the same time, just see, we just have 35% of the firms which fall in mid-size, whereas businesses which fall in mid-size is 70%. So that means that when we are talking why it is happening like this, because the mid-size firms, right now, who is providing multidisciplinary services to the clients in our country? Either the top tier firms like Big Four or couple of more, or the single army CA. Because he has to do everything for the client. So he become multidisciplinary professional, may not be the expert, but he does everything for the client, whatever comes. So please mind, the people who are looking for, who are craving for multidisciplinary services are these 70% businesses to whom they have to either go to Big Four or they have to depend upon the smaller single professional firms, because they don't have enough partnership firms where you have requisite experts of all different kind of services so that they can get multidisciplinary services. So through this today's presentation, I would like to focus that why these firms, the mid-sized firms where you have 3 partners, 4 partners, 10 partners, 12 partners, 20 partners, or up to maybe 30 partners, 3 to 30, they should start providing multidisciplinary services because they have that domain. They have experts of most of the fields like audit and taxation and laws and some other fields. So they are capable of providing these services. We just need the focus. We just need the orientation. How the role of chartered accountant has evolved over the period, as it started from audit and then attorney and then advisor, then becoming mentor and coach and guide, where he becomes an interdisciplinary person. So that we all know. We all know that our role is changing very fast, but and we have to adapt to that. But what we ought to know is this, very important. I was talking to you about artificial intelligence and the professionals, and artificial intelligence and the chartered accountants. And why I was talking to you, the World Economic Forum has recently published this data. I have not captured more than 3 countries here. I have the data of, many countries, but I've captured just the data of 3 countries where One of them is our country, India, appears. And what I want to show through this slide to you is when AI comes in next 10 years, whether we are going to lose our job or not, what's going to happen? So let us understand this and let us focus on India's bars, India's graph. And what it says is, first of all, please focus your attention at the bottom. Maroon color shows high exposure to AI, but at the same time, high complementarity. Means, yes, it'll be impacted by AI, but if somebody adapts to the AI, then he can do this work more efficiently. So this is this category. And then you have second category, which is in orange color, where you have high exposure to AI, but low complementarity. That means once AI comes, they'll become the professionals would become redundant and AI would take over, substantially take over their jobs. And the third one is blue color, where there is low exposure to AI. And now focus on India. In India, the first category where we see about 6.5% people are professionals in India. When we talk of services in employment, 6.5% are professional, just 6.5%. In United Kingdom, 30% are the professionals. In Brazil, the professionals are about 12%. But in our country, the professionals are only 6.5% of the total employed people. So see, if we talk about this, out of this 6.5%, we can clearly see that 5% are those persons whose job would not be adversely impacted by AI, but they have to adapt to the AI, then their job would not be adversely impacted. If they don't adapt, then their job could be adversely impacted. And only 1% are those professionals where AI would take over their jobs. So not a threat. Therefore, AI is not a threat for most of us. The only thing is we have to adapt. We have to learn AI. We have to adapt to the AI. And if we don't do that, then our growth would be slower than the developed countries like UK and US, where the focus on AI is becoming greater and at a faster pace. So only that challenge is there that we need to learn. As I mentioned to you, we have to adapt to the change. We need to learn this. So that is the challenge. But the threat, if once we learn that, there is no threat to our job. AI would become our tool rather than becoming our competitor. So that's the scenario of professionals. If we talk about managers, it's completely maroon or brown. That means their jobs are not at stake with AI coming in. And for all of them, they have to learn AI and AI has to become their tool. However, if we see the third bar, clerical support workers, who will come in this? I feel even some chartered accountants could come in this. If the chartered accountants are some chartered accountants, only few chartered accountants who are doing no value-added service, but only clerical nature of services, only mechanical or repetitive services, only the data entry kind of services, only the software operator kind of services, then this is in orange color. It may so happen that their jobs are at stake, although they are just a very tiny percentage in our country. But we must know that if somebody is falling in that category, then their jobs are at stake. However, kindly see the last one, the elementary occupation. If it is elementary occupation, if we compare with Brazil and UK, our percentage is much high. And skilled agricultural workers, our percentage is much high. That is number one. And that would have very low exposure to AI. That means there is no threat today. If we start skilled agricultural work, perhaps there is no threat to our work. If it is unskilled or elementary occupation, then to 0.5% people, there could be threat, as we can see in the chart. Most of them would not have a threat because most of that also is in blue. But still, there is some percentage who could lose their jobs. But if we are skilled and doing agriculture, nobody is at threat. So craft-related work, nobody is at threat. Machine operators, they are not at threat. Technicians, there is a problem. So we must know in which category we are falling. With that, friends, let us discuss impact of AI on CAs before I come on the nature of professional practice, which we all are doing. If in our work, as I just told to you, it is of repetitive nature, our work is of a type where there's a formula and we have to go by the formula. There is no room for application of mind and we have to follow the formula strictly. That's the nature of our work. Or our work is like this, where fee is low and it is based on the quantum of the work we do. And it is a kind of work which, if taken over by machines, can be done faster by machines. Then it could be substantially technology driven in next 10 years. However, if our work is of the nature where there is application of mind and there is some significant application of mind, then AI would only do this, that we'll be able to do our work in a better manner by taking use of AI, by taking help and assistance of AI. So please mind, we have to analyze our own practices. If we are in a firm, we have to see what kind of work the firm has, which is of first category, and which percentage of the work or which revenue of the work firm derives from the second category. And this is very important. And I would suggest all of you to do the AI impact assessment of your own firm, at least by the end of this year, March 25, so that you can implement the new strategies from next year. In fact, I have already started wherever I'm investing as an investor. So, and somebody, a banker or the wealth manager comes to me and asks for investment in any of the product. I ask who are the target companies and what is their AI impact study. And I ask from them that if their AI impact study shows that it is falling in maroon, or it is falling in maroon or brown, or it is falling in orange category, or it is falling in blue category. And if it is orange more, then I refrain from investing in those companies. So please mind, at our offices also, not only for clients, we have to do this exercise for clients also. And most of you already know that biggest revenue of big four accounting firms comes from consultation practice. And out of that, the biggest chunk comes from multidisciplinary. And out of that, these days, the biggest chunk is coming from AI impact assessment and the technology advisory. So these two combined is a major source of revenue of big four firms. So if we can provide this service to our clients, that could be one value-added service. And secondly, we should evaluate our own practice, that in our practice, how much work would be impacted because of AI, in which category our work falls. And if you find that, because multidisciplinary work is such which would be least impacted by AI, this is what we must know, which we must understand. And with that, let us understand what kind of work we professionals do, all of us do as a chartered accountant. Many of us are engaged in regulatory and compliance work. There are many of us, and most of our offices have a division or some person responsible for representation, maybe before GST authority or income tax authority or company law authority or banker or some other authority, or litigation, fighting appeals for the clients or appearing in tribunals or before other forums. So we are doing this. And then third, we are also engaged, many of our professional brothers are also engaged in consultation or opinion practice, where they give their view, they give advisory to the client, and not only in the form of a kind of advice when the client asks, but also proactive advice to the client on the basis of their management audits, on the basis of uh, certain kind of things where they are in the position to not only advise on technical matters to the client, but also on business matters to the client, whether to buy this project or not, whether to go for a strong or heavy capitalization in this year or next year, how do we spread, how to do borrowings, or whether this income tax benefit should be claimed, not claimed, or whether this kind of GST structure should be made, they'll be prone to litigation. Not, we give all kind of advice. So all chartered accountants are doing that, and all chartered accountants are many of the professionals from our profession, CA profession, also are getting involved in implementation and executory assistance these days. And sometimes they become resolution professional. Many of the CAs have started doing IBC practice, and they are almost in the executive function. They are almost doing the work for the client. They are taking over the board of directors. So that is another kind of practice. Then you have evaluation practice and valuation practice. And valuation, evaluation also, appraisals and evaluations, and preparing feasibility studies for businesses. Many CAs are involved in this. And the last category is that most promising category, the business management or strategic advisory, because chartered accountants are considered to be the persons who have done spade work not only during their studies, but also during the audits and initial practice. And it is considered that they don't just have the technical and accounting knowledge, they get business prudence also, or commercial prudence also over time. So they have knowledge of law on the one hand, they have knowledge of business on the other, they have knowledge of accounting, they have knowledge of taxation. So they are better equipped to advise the client. You all know that if there is any kind of strategic, let's assume that there is a real estate and hotel transaction. So what a client would do, client would consult three persons. Client would consult the chartered accountant, client would consult a lawyer, and the client would also consult an MBA or a person who is a business advisor. And what's happening? This is multidisciplinary because there are some legal aspects in any business advice. There are some business aspects into it. There are some accounting and taxation and finance aspect into it. So if a client is consulting a chartered accountant, he will have to go to a lawyer to consult thereafter, or a business consultant to consult thereafter. And then based on their advice, he has to revisit chartered accountant, and then there will be a lot of back and forth. And therefore, there is a new trend. And although all of you must be aware that in the transaction, now, apart from big four accounting firms, the big four law firms in India also have a transaction advisory division, or business advisory division, and management advisory division. And what's happening is, the big four CA firms are hiring lawyers in their transaction advisory apart from CAs. And big four law firms are hiring chartered accountants these days in their transaction advisory firm, because they know that they cannot complete their advice without the help of chartered accountants. And very recent trend is that the consulting and strategic advisory firms like McKinsey, Ben & Company, and others, they have also started hiring chartered accountants and lawyer in their advisory division. So what I'm suggesting to you, out of them, they consider that somebody who can understand, for chartered accountant, it is easier to understand the basic parts of the law which are relevant for a business advice. For a lawyer, it is very difficult to understand the aspects of business and management and finance and accounting. So it becomes very easy for chartered accountant to do the transaction advisory or management consulting practice or strategic advisory practice, because for him, uh, 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 the aspects of law are governing the advice only to the extent of 20% or 30%. So that is easier for him, or rather he can make a team, or there could be a team where there could be a lawyer and CA, or necessarily there may not be a lawyer. There could be all chartered accountants, one focusing on different laws, business laws, another focusing on finance, taxation, accounting, auditing, other matters. Third, focusing on commercial prudence aspect. If they make a team, they could provide these kind of services, which mid-sized firms, I would say it would be service to the nation, because mid-sized firms, their difficulty is because of the lack of enough service providers in this space. They have to either go to Big Four to take these services and pay the hefty bills, or they have to compromise on the quality of services by going to some of the uh, professionals who are not equipped to provide that kind of service. So this is one area where uh, one should rather target that this kind of services we will develop will provide. I'm not only suggesting that just this advice would be multidisciplinary, or the use of multidisciplinary is just the business or management advice, which is of course the largest chunk in the fees of bigger firms. But there are other areas which are new areas where you will find that you have multidisciplinary approach, multidisciplinary things in the new areas of practice. You have IBC, you have PMLA, you have ESG, you have data management, you have data privacy, education related laws. And now on the screen, what you have is truly multidisciplinary. If you are advising clients on investigation cases, let's say income tax search, the earlier practice was, if it was income tax search, somebody would go to the income tax practitioner or chartered accountant who is doing income tax practice, and he could advise on such cases. But now you all know how income tax is intertwined, the issues under income taxes are intertwined with GST and with PMLA and with company law. You might have already seen the newspaper headlines that because of the income tax search, ROC, in case of one of the companies, has issued the notices to the directors to ask them to report them about the fraud in the company upon the shareholders, because there is a search and it indicates a fraud, and why the matter be not referred to serious fraud investigation office. Similarly, it is very common these days that in income tax investigations, you will get PMLA notices, Benami notices, FEMA notices, and notices of GST department or other state departments. So that means now if somebody deals with income tax, he is not equipped to handle income tax search cases unless he has a team or he himself knows about various other laws which are closely connected with investigation. So what I've spoken, what I've mentioned are just 6 or 7 laws. But in practice, you have several laws which comes into play when there are income tax investigation cases or GST investigation cases for that matter. And I have seen that the food and drug license was cancelled on the basis of income tax search. In one of the cases, the medical college license was cancelled because of the income tax search. So you need to know several different laws once you are dealing with investigation cases. And therefore, this is one multidisciplinary domain. And I would say that if you want to deal with any of these things, you have to know a couple of subjects rather than one. You may not be expert of any. You must know that where are the red flags, because for experts, there could be different experts in your office or different experts in the market. with whom you can to whom you can go for a secondment after making a prima facie view. But it should not happen that on the basis of just the income tax law, you have given an advice and your client has followed that advice and gone by that advice. And what he realizes that after following your advice, he has got a notice in GST, and then he realizes that your reply was very good from the income tax perspective, but it was a bad reply from the GST perspective or PMLA or Benami perspective. So please mind, um, uh, uh, you need to develop. It is investigation cases are not like earlier. Now it is within the law itself that the information gathered by investigation department of one particular subject like income tax or GST, they have to share that information. There is a statutory requirement of sharing that information with the other departments or other uh, maybe GST or some other departments. So you must know that you will definitely get your client will definitely get a notice from the other departments, and unless you have given a holistic advice or holistic opinion or view on a matter, there could be a problem. Similar case comes in forensic audit or strategic planning or M&A. M&A is kind of a fancy practice area which every professional sees. It's a kind of dream of a young CA that he would certainly do M&A at some point of time in their career. But please mind, again for M&A, they have to know a couple of more subjects than focusing on one subject. And therefore, when I go to the programs of the young professionals, I normally suggest that in initial building up years, 2, 3, 4 years, initial maybe 5 years, they should do all subjects, and then they should develop a specialization in 1 or 2 or 3 subjects, so that subsequently later on, the client may come to them because of one specialization, but they are able to deal with multidisciplinary projects and give multidisciplinary or interdisciplinary advice to the clients. Business reengineering, again, requires that. Transaction structuring would require that. Wealth succession and business succession, they are different. And unless you know all the subject, and apart from that, sociology, and apart from that, uh, some other subjects like macroeconomy, you cannot do. It will be very difficult for you to do wealth and succession planning, because economics play how the dollar would be there in next 10 years, how what role metals would play, what role businesses would play, what role AI would play. So one has to take a holistic view again in these areas. Same way in corporate coaching services, or maybe you are a kind of standing invitee to the board of your client, where you have to oversee the board functioning and you have to advise on several matters. You have to be a multidisciplinary professional. And why I'm using this word every time, I can use the word a physician, a person, a chartered accountant who is a multidisciplinary professional is like a physician to whom a patient would like to go first before approaching a specialist. Because it is only physician who would advise that it is the subject matter of which specialist. So our country today needs more physicians in medical field. And in the same way, in finance, accounting, tax, and our chartered accountancy field, this also, our country needs more physicians, because most of their clients' problem, would not be a subject-centric problem. It'll be a problem which would be business-centric problem, where the client would come to you for a solution rather than for an advice. The times have gone where the client would seek a written opinion from you what to do. Client would say, I'm in this fix, this is the problem, and you have to solve this problem. And when you become a solution provider, you cannot be a technical expert of one subject. Solution provider would have to have a 360-degree view where he has to have in mind the other subjects, that how my solution would impact this client so far as the other things are concerned. Therefore, be it management audit or any of the subjects, these are just the examples. There could be tens of more subjects. And as I mentioned to you, that in my office, there are about 15 persons who are, 13 of them are chartered accountants. And they are working fully in the multidisciplinary division. They do full-time only this work, and that has become the fastest growing division of the firm. And therefore, I humbly suggest that we need to develop, all of us. Suppose you think that you cannot develop. All right. So 3 different professionals who are working in 3 different fields can collaborate, that we'll do our individual practices. But whenever there is a multidisciplinary project, then for that project, we'll collaborate. And that we'll do together. So I understand income tax, you understand GST, and third person understands corporate law, and fourth understands PMLA. Let's do the project together, so that when we give the advice, the client is not at a loss. Client should feel that there is a backup of multidisciplinary approach, and therefore I can safely follow this advice, which is taking care of multidisciplinary due diligence before the advice. So that's my suggestion. And you can have multidisciplinary partner. You can think of joining hands. Different friends, different professionals can join hands in a partnership. If you don't want to join hands, you can collaborate, as I mentioned to you, that you don't want to have a permanent alliance, have a kind of project-based alliance, or a kind of collaboration where you align only when there is a project. And multidisciplinary partnership, you already know that is in institutes framework, it is being permitted. Professional collaborations are something where across the cities you can have collaborations. Within the city you can have collaborations. You can have best friends professional network, or arrangement where it is collaboration is where if you have one expert for one subject, or couple of experts for one subject, and always when a project comes where there is an involvement of all those subjects, those friends come together and deal with the subject. Whereas in best friends professional network, you can have many persons for one project. You are choosing one of them, and second project you are choosing other of them. Could be a very temporary kind of alliance, but whatever it is, you can do that. And very recently, ICI has permitted LLPs, CA LLPs to become partner in another LLP. So that's a great structure, which, so what, say there is X LLP, Y LLP, Z LLP, they are doing their respective work. But for multidisciplinary work, and they are one of them is expert in audit, other of them is expert in taxation, third of them is expert in new things like ESG and IBC, fourth one of them is expert in legal work, drafting work. So what they are saying, you do your independent work in your LLP. Now all the LLPs put together can make another LLP. So multidisciplinary work can be done in that LLP. Now that's very recent permission by ICI. And that's I think this would be solution to the problem, because ICI registered network, there are some problems which our members have been facing when it is a networking firm or networking platform. ICI has certain regulations which are stringent, and where there could be certain problems. Those problems can be solved through the new permission by ICAI. And this could be a very great model. I think in some firms have already started planning in that direction, and in next 2-3 years we'll have at least 50 LLPs of that type in the country, where the members would be, or the partners would be, another LLP which is doing their full-fledged independent work, and they are combining only for they are partner in this LLP, where other LLPs are there for multidisciplinary assignments. So this is one should study, one should get into that, and one should really think of entering into the new structure, which is very, very dynamic. Uh, uh, I'll pause for a sip of water and then resume. So friends, coming back to the topic, this is where I would suggest the branch chairman and secretary that on the new guideline itself versus the old ICI registered network guidelines, which are still in existence, all the other models, what could be the models for doing if you could not have kind of large partnership where there are experts of all subjects, and you want to continue with your firm of 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 8 persons, then how should you collaborate? What are the positives and negatives of different models? And what are the guidelines of the new structure suggested by ICI? So on that itself, that model itself, you should hold a program so that uh, uh, people may come prepared with their questions. They've already gone through the guidelines of the ICI, the old one and the new one, and they can discuss plus minus, they can discuss positive negatives, and they can actually go ahead with the right model, the model which is correct for them.
It's still under the revision once again.
Yes.
So we just held it. Otherwise, we were supposed to do that. So once it's
Okay.
out,
Yeah,
we will
that is under revision. But I think on this week itself, the revised guidelines are getting approved. The council is meeting. So I think within next 10 days, they are likely to be approved. This my news from 1 or 2 council members that they have framed the guidelines. They are under revision, and very soon, maybe next 10 days, they are going to be approved. That's
Right.
it. I don't know. We should wait, but that's an area where a branch like Bangalore branch should definitely hold program. What are the exact guidelines? What were the earlier guideline? What are and comparison between different models? Which one would suit to which kind of persons? So that people start actually thinking and then following what best suits to them. So uh, the next slide uh, just shows that in for growth of professional firms, when you take up a platform like this, you make your platform bigger, whether in the manner of a partnership or in the manner of maybe the network. What you need are many things, and you all know about them. I would not like to deal with them, but with a larger platform, you can have different partners responsible for, in charge of different things like client interface or maybe internal management of the firm or maybe different subjects and maybe certain things because we all understand that in professional practice, one has to do several things at a time. You have several things at stake, and a bigger platform would have bigger challenges. It will have bigger revenues, it will have bigger rewards, it will have larger number of clients, but at the same time, you need to address several things, and therefore, your partnership structure has to give responsibility of different things to different partners. So that's what in a network these days, in dynamic networks, people are doing like this. That partners are, apart from their domain and subject expert, in relation to the management of the firm, they are becoming responsible or accountable for one or the other thing. Uh, uh, this is something I would not like to deal with here. I think we'll devote better time on some discussion uh, rather than that. Let me slightly deal with this ingredients of professional platform. This is a bit important. these days professional platform is uh, partly like a business. It's not purely a kind of, you can say that it's you don't need a capital, you don't need a pooling of resources. You need many things. You need a larger platform to cater to. Why I showed the first slide where our country needs to go in 2030 and 2040 and 2047. Uh, in that mm, run up, run up to become a developed nation, the larger firms have to be created. Um, I'm not saying because Prime Minister is saying so. I'm saying because otherwise, uh, the other firms which are not big four and the other firms from outside the country would take over this field. And how larger firms could be created, because once you think of deciding providing multidisciplinary service, that means you have to create larger firms. And if you want to create larger firms, then you have to have the structure in mind that you have to pool resources in such manner that there is an understanding about tangible, intangible. You need all these kind of intangibles, whether it is brand or goodwill or data bank or human resource or network or experience and knowledge. At the same time, you need tangibles because implementation of AI itself would require, uh, you know, not only a trial period, resources, and I think you might have heard the term called digital twinning or virtual twinning. So virtual twinning is a process which will go with AI, and you have to think of that twinning means you have to create a replica of your maybe any kind of tangible um, uh, working procedure or model into a digital or virtual model, and then work on that, and that itself require a focused effort. So unless you have 10 professionals combined together, 20 professionals combined together, it's very difficult to do. So it's not just that capital needs to be provided and everything would happen. You need to understand what extent is not that you buy the best software product of the market and then you are kind of AI equipped. You have to buy the right product which is needed for you. You have to buy the right product which is needed for your clients or the nature of services provided by you. So who will do that assessment unless you have a pool of resources? You will combine the resources, human resources, what I call them as professional entrepreneurs. Unless the professional entrepreneurs would join hands, it's very difficult to do. So physical, be it physical infrastructure or the virtual infrastructure or the admin setup or pooling of network for multidisciplinary work, one has to create that platform on the basis of pooling of resources of uh, professionals from different regime. Today also in I think on social media there was a news that Hero Advani, who is a very promising professional, has joined Barucha and Company. So it could be a news 10 years ago that how a professional who can stand on his own name and who can command the work, who can command the clients, who can argue, who can do everything, and who is earning so well, would at this late stage would become partner in Barucha and Company. What is the need? The need is that I think today's news, you can Google it. Hiru Advani joins Barucha, is becomes one of the Barucha partners, and managing partner of Barucha declares this today. So need is because unless this is being done, neither Barucha would reach or cross a level unless it joins with this size and this level of professionals, nor Hiru Advani would go further. So it is in the interest of both. So it's only for the purpose of creating a multidisciplinary platform that such alliances happen. And therefore, I would highly recommend that Bangalore branch should provide a kind of platform where you don't have a study circle meeting. you have a collaboration exploration meeting or a platform where you have a ground like I distinctly remember that Bangalore is a place where you have a stone mart, right? And Italy is another place where you have stone machinery mart, where all the producers, all the people who want to join hands, they come together, they explore, they not only demonstrate their skill sets, but they explore that how they can join hands. Same way, I think professionals have to have a program, and Bangalore must make a beginning that uh, the people who would like to explore multidisciplinary partnerships or the platform on one particular day, meeting should be arranged where all of them should come, make their presentation as to in what they are domain experts, what is where they are good at, and what is the area where they are not practicing. They should give their brief presentation to the house who are kind of interested in this, and then perhaps the partnership should start forming in any of the form, and then perhaps that can be taken to the other cities, and these kind of things can be done. So as I was just mentioning to you, uh, mm, you have to the people who have devoted quite a number, quite a time in professional work. After initial foundational groundwork, they have devoted some time to their specialization in one or the second or the third or the fourth subject. Now is the time for them not only to do the work which they are doing, but in addition, they must do professional entrepreneurship. And in that, they should join hands with others. They should start taking risks so that they create a platform. We should have at least 100 firms in the country which are having more than 100 partners in next 10 years. Then only these uh, uh, our economy would become $30 trillion or maybe $7 trillion. But who will become the service provider to that $7 trillion economy? Outsiders or we ourselves. If we are not strong, it will be outsiders. So let's be strong. Let's combine. Let's start doing multidisciplinary work. And I think, as I mentioned to you in the beginning, this is a subject where we need more discussion. And I not like to uh, give more presentation. Let us discuss on the basis of the questions of the audience. And if you don't have questions, I have certain illustrations. I have my partner of multidisciplinary division sitting with me. He could give some illustrations to you as to what kind of assignments we do in the multidisciplinary domain in our multidisciplinary division. Uh, uh, of course, the headquarters, he is headquartered at Jaipur, but because we have branches at Delhi, Mumbai, and Surat, so what kind of services they are providing at different places. So he could just give some illustrations. So before that, before he gives the illustration, I would like uh, you to kindly ask if you have any questions so that we can engage ourselves in discussion. Pramod, I think that'll be more appropriate because otherwise it for me also it'll be boring monologue. And for audience also it'll be a boring monologue unless there is an interaction. It'll be a one-way traffic. It will look to me as if I'm talking to the screen only.
Yeah, I don't see any questions in the desk. Let's invite members to post their questions.
Yeah. So I have kept my partner Nikhil ready with me. So he can take some illustrations after. I'll wait for 2, 3, 4 minutes. If somebody wants to start interacting, we'll on any aspects of multidisciplinary practice, we'll do that. Else, he'll give the illustrations of maybe succession, maybe restructuring, how when it comes to domestic restructuring or internal restructuring, how multidisciplinary practice becomes very, very important.
Suraj, do you have anything in DLH portal?
No, sir. No.
Yeah, we got one question. Being a young practicing professional with two partners, how would you suggest individual partners skill up in areas outside the basic areas such as compliance and audit? And what are the areas at the initial stage they can focus on having a large addressable market?
So, a very interesting question, and I think I'll take from my last slide, and this was what I was taking for young professionals here 3 days ago, that how they should begin and how they should what they should do thereafter and thereafter, and that's all. So, my suggestion to you is that in initial years, you have to do different kind of practice. You have to take up all subjects. You may have a difficulty of getting clients, and therefore, instead of one person doing it alone, if 5 or 6 or 10 persons are combining, what will happen? You are interested in one subject, your friend is interested in another subject, your third friend is interested in third subject, but they are getting all kind of clients. So if in initial years you could set up a practice like this, where there you are not alone, but you are associated with someone, so that while you are doing one kind of work, you have a knack, you at least get to know different kinds of work which are happening around you. That must happen in initial 5 years of practice. And thereafter, you should focus in your core area of expertise or interest, which you would have already discovered during initial 4-5 years, in maybe next 5 years or maybe next 7 years. And thereafter, you become a person who is eligible to do independently. And independently does not mean that you are not part of partnership and you are doing independently. I'm saying that for a client, you can handle that multidisciplinary assignment independently, because initially you have worked on several things. While working on one thing, your client is routed to 10 persons. So you have worked on several things. Because you are accountable to the client, therefore you have reported to the client on the basis of working of your colleagues in initial years. Then you have specialized, and thereafter, when the client comes to you with one subject asking questions on another subject, it will be easier for you to give an answer, a tentative answer, get it vetted through your more expert partner within your setup or network or collaboration or the larger platform. And then perhaps that is the right model. So here in my office also, we have done the same model. So we have, I'll give the example to you. In my office, I have a FEMA desk. I have an education desk. I have international taxation desk. I have income tax desk. I have GST desk. I have ESG desk. Then I have a desk relating to PMLA. I have a desk relating to other economic offenses. I have a desk relating to criminal laws. I have a desk relating to IPR. And then, apart from that, I have a litigation division, corporate division, and a multidisciplinary division. So multidisciplinary division. So client first comes to multidisciplinary division. And then the multidisciplinary division evaluates as to what is the issue. It formulates the problem, discusses the issue with the client, then develops a prototype of the solution. That prototype is then routed through different desks. Suppose there is an PMLA issue also, an income tax issue also, and GST. It is routed through all the three. And corporate law issue also is routed through all the three, all the four. They give their suggestions. Once that the relevant subject expert, they give their suggestion, then they make options. They don't give one solution to it. They make options by evaluating different solutions. Option 1, option 2, option 3. And then they become interface between the client and the firm. And they present to the client that these are possible solutions. So somebody out of your network may be a good interface, and he should definitely become a part of multidisciplinary practice, because He has to face the client and he has to get the work from the client. He has to ultimately, client would feel him accountable. So it is this manner in which you can develop your interdisciplinary or multidisciplinary platform. So you can start with multidisciplinary by becoming an interface, or you can start with ground working on several subjects, later on becoming a specialist in one subject, and then joining the multidisciplinary. Both the models are open to you.
We have one more question.
Yes.
What is your suggestion for CA professionals who are in the industry with 15 to 20 years plus in F&A and general management who want to start practice or consultancy on their own, but not much network in MSME space, where they can get some business?
I think instead of starting independently, I would suggest a very good thing. I had suggested the same question came to me 5 years ago, and I'll suggest you. I can share with you the name also. I suggested him to do the practice of becoming visiting CFO and CEO. See, the professionals who have been in job for 15 to 20 years, they are either at the stage of CFO or deputy CFO or CEO or some stage where they are in senior management position. They can be very good persons for the businesses who cannot afford full-time CFOs. So there is a concept of part-time CFOs these days. And what for CFO is needed for doing a turnaround? What for CFO is needed for the decisions of having higher importance or where the risk involved is greater. So people want CFO, but they cannot afford a CFO. So one person can become CFO in 5 companies, in mid-sized companies. So that is the starting point. And Sunil Pandey is a person who started at my suggestion, and now he has set up a firm of the professionals like you. Now there are about 10 CFO level professionals with him who are providing part-time CFO services throughout the country. So there could be many options, and this is one option. Second option is, if there is already a multidisciplinary firm already set up, then you can join that firm on a kind of work-to-work basis partnership. Because that firm would not like to hire a high-cost professional, but that firm would need you when a project comes to them, that suppose some new system has to be implemented, or new hiring is to be done, or for new project they need a part-time CFO. For all these things, the professional firms would need the persons like you who have much experience of all round. I would say the persons who have been in industry for 15-20 years, they have 360-degree view of different subjects. They may be master of none, but they know several things. Therefore, they can do multidisciplinary work like this part-time CFO service, part-time CEO service, CXO service, or maybe a kind of SOS partner. I would call them SOS partner to the multidisciplinary firms who are already practicing.
We don't have any questions. We can probably take up the illustration and then probably.
Yeah. So Nikhil would give maybe 1 or 2 illustrations, and then we'll close at maybe in 10 minutes. If there are no questions, then we'll close in 10 minutes, right? So I'm turning my desktop towards Nikhil, and yes, before we close, I'll again show my face to all of you. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Pramodji.
Thanks.
So, as we are discussing about multidisciplinary practices, there are multiple tasks which, as a CA professional, we are very frequently taking up. So now specifically that we are talking to the audience at the startup capital, not only of India, maybe to a level that we can say of the world. While advising to startups, CA specifically becomes the first point of contact for any startup owner or promoter, right? For anything legal. So how to approach it, how to create the entity, they would know that how to create a pitch. They may know how to approach the investor. They would also know that what are the network in which they have to be active to eventually approach the investor. But even if the investor comes on board, they would require a CA not just to set up the terms with the investor, but also how to align their own ownership structure as well as the entity structure in that scenario. So to take an illustration of advising a startup, they may seek advisory relating to the direction of business, the operations. They may seek advisory relating to creation of an entity, right? They may seek advisory relating to entering into shareholder agreement as well as share subscription agreement with these investors. So now it might happen that within a firm, while a particular firm is very proficient in setting up of an entity or creating an entity, right? Somebody may be well versed with advising on the business side to the startup. But when it comes down to drafting of documents, right, that is altogether a very different ball game when it comes down to drafting of agreements such as shareholders agreement or share subscription agreement, because there are multiple terms, there are multiple things on which negotiations need to be made, and advisory has to be made to the to your client. So there also, there can be another professional, maybe a CA, maybe an advocate, who can add additional value while you are providing these services to your client. That advocate can provide additional value in terms of drafting, in terms of identifying the actual legal terms apart from the commercial aspect of it, right? And to help you negotiate with the investor. So herein, in such an assignment, there can be a role of a CA, a company secretary, as well as an advocate. When it comes down to any kind of structuring or international structuring. So to give an example, for any kind, let's say, let's take up the example of, again, in an entity, there is any kind of funding. So if the funding is coming from outside India, from any fund situated out of Mauritius, or any funds based out of Singapore or otherwise, right? So there is a lot of consultancy linked to FEMA and international laws which comes into play. So it is not necessary and possible for each and every professional to be proficient for laws such as FEMA. So again, within this domain, help can be sought from somebody who is an expert in this particular field. Moving on to any kind of a structuring assignment. So there are many clients who have operations in more than one country, right? So they can have operation, let's say, in India, they can have operation in Hong Kong, Singapore, or any of the European countries. So any kind of structuring of relationship between these entities, right? It would require proficient knowledge of taxation laws, obviously, both domestic as well as international. Knowledge of reading the tax treaties between these countries, as well as the ownership, as well as entity structures of the respective entity of respective countries. Right? So you would require FEMA, you would require secretarial, you would require documentation expertise, international taxation expertise, domestic taxation expertise, taxation expertise relating to clauses such as POEM guidelines, place of effective management, which are otherwise not impacted or utilized on a day-to-day basis by professionals. So these are the different kind of practices which would be requiring multiple professions. So when we talk about multidisciplinary, it does not mean that a CA has to come up with another company secretary. It is multiple discipline. So when we are talking about multidisciplinary, in discipline, it is the areas of practice. So it might happen that one CA is proficient in one area of practice, another CA is in another area of practice, another professional such as an advocate is proficient in another area of practice, and they can collectively provide more value to the end client. Succession is something which, as chartered accountant, many of time we do not even realize that is a separate set of service. It is something that goes as a part of package to the clients. The client would always come, they would discuss both about personal wealth succession as well as business succession with the chartered accountant. And it may happen that such services are provided free of cost to the client without actually realizing that it is a service which holds immense value for the end customer. So to be proficient with different kind of succession tools, be it, many a times for certain reasons, HUF may be used, sometimes will may be used. And, we have to sometimes suggest a private family trust to the client. So again, each and every element has its own ambit, but when it comes down to business succession, right, role of CA becomes even more important because they are the ones who are already well versed with the business of client, right? They understand the overall operational realities of that particular business, and they can always take up that role of advising the clients on different aspects of business succession, be it in terms of ownership succession or management succession within the family, outside family. And when we're talking about, Sir had already mentioned that family businesses, they encompass, or they are the biggest contributor to the GDP of our country, family-owned businesses, right? And generally, most of our clients, or rather a lot of our clients, they are family-run businesses. Now, within this family-run businesses also, the same Harvard study that Sir referred to, which is stated that the family-owned businesses are the biggest or the most successful form of businesses across the world. Same study also reflects that only 3% of family businesses survive the third generation. Right? Now, herein also, the role of CAs who are not just the financial advisor to the or statutory advisor to the client, they are effectively the advisor in all aspect to their clients. So to actually help, so there are different tools, there are different mechanisms. We can always have a separate discussion on that. So there are tools such as family business boards, which can be advised and created for these clients to help them in running their operation in a more corporate manner, right? Rather than, as we state, that the decision making should happen in the boardroom rather than on the dining table. So that is a kind of element that as professionals, we can always suggest and guide our clients to implement. There are tools such as family constitution, which are created for different families, and now it is not just that it is created for somebody by having a wealth of 500,000 crores and 10,000 crores, like the the GMR group or the Ambani group. It is now being implemented by family houses who have a collective wealth of 50 crore plus, because that is also a legacy that has to be passed from family to family, not just from a father to his son or to his daughter. It is a collective family heirloom which has to be passed on to the entire next generation. So there will be separate set of rules, separate set of tools to address these conditions and situations. And all of this requires approaching the same advice with different outlook. Right? So, these were some of the primary illustrations which we felt that may be useful for the audience. And I will hand it over to Sanjay sir.
So Pramod, I think from our side, it is over. And if there are no more questions, I can just only say that if any of one of you are interested in multidisciplinary partnership, you can write independent messages, mails to me. I can guide you, or maybe if you want to explore with my firm, I can take it forward. Are there any questions?
We don't have anything in the chat box.
I think we can close this.
Okay.
There are no questions, then we can definitely.
One question has come now. How to get US clients or UK clients for a sole proprietorship firm?
No, that's very, very difficult. You cannot. You cannot. See, I have done my master's from New York's Columbia University, and I have done my master's in international business laws. And international business laws means treaty-made laws. There are several, about 43 treaties worldwide on different subjects, and therefore, what I understand is, in my class of United States, there were several participants from 17 different countries. And what I find is that on the basis of that education, the clients which I'm getting are the clients which have any one leg of the transaction in one country and another leg in another country. So they first need the advice which law of which country would apply in respect of which part of my transaction. So there you can play a role. In sole proprietorship concern, independently doing this thing only, I'm able to do because I have 64 professionals in my firm. So, and everyone is doing their work in different field. So I can focus on multidisciplinary aspect, or I can focus on international business or international business advisory. Therefore, I'm getting, but still, instead of US clients, what I'm getting is Indian clients who are stationed in US. So because a US client would look for you only when he has some connection with you. So if you want to practice like that, you have to first become part of a multidisciplinary platform, or your firm has to join a network, professional network, which is a global professional network. And then you have to be a subject expert in that network for at least one area. Then that network would choose that if there is a client, the client has something in India, then that work is being assigned to you. So I think that's the manner. Individual, it is very, very difficult. You have to have a platform. You cannot do it individually. How can you do everything individually? That's not possible. Just not possible.
I think no questions. Do we have any good platforms for the young professional for collaborating with other professional members?
No, not like this. You can collaborate. You can have best friends agreement. That is the model with other professionals, because you cannot have a multidisciplinary partnership right now with other professionals like lawyers and other, because CA Institute has permitted, but lawyers body has not permitted. But you can have the platforms where you can have best friends agreements with lawyers. So that is the model which everyone is following.
Yeah, as you said, the other professional bodies are still not approved it, though we have
Yes.
approved it. And
Yes.
secondly, even in the SSP portal, who will regulate? The challenges are there. So
So that is not possible, but best friends agreements is possible, which is happening, which is everywhere happening. That you have best friends agreement with different professionals. You partnerships are not permitted, but best nobody can stop you from making best friends. So those best friends agreements, they are very popular agreements and they are happening.
we have one more query. So how can we approach foreign clients for a foreign accounting, and sources are available for approaching them?
No. See, as I think I've already answered that.
Yeah.
You must have somebody who is referring your name. You must be part of a network who is saying that this work can be done by so and so professional. So then only you will get the work. You cannot directly approach. That's not the way. That's neither the client would give you work nor your institute would allow you to approach like that. So thank you very much, Pramod, for providing me this opportunity of joining this program today. And
It should be other way around, sir. We are thank you and grateful to you, so that you, even in the very busy schedule of yours, you made out a time for us, and without any hesitation, you offered us to help and take this seminar in a very quite short time. Thank you, sir. Thank you for the support, rather.
thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.